Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. We are up to episode number 70 if you are keeping score, and as always, I am your host, Rick Jenkins. Today, we're talking with an executive who is helping shape the growth and development of South Carolina's real estate landscape. As population growth and business investment accelerate, the demand for thoughtful, strategic, affordable development has never been greater. Clear Mountain Properties, a regional investment and development firm focused on multifamily housing, mixed-use development, and select industrial projects, is playing an important role in delivering projects designed to meet those housing needs. Joining me now is Chris Rizzo. He is the principal and founder of Clear Mountain Properties, and we're going to discuss market trends, development opportunities, and what's next for real estate investment in one of the fastest growing areas in the Southeast. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be back.
It is good to be back. It's been a while. I don't know when, it's 6, 8 months or something since you were last on the show. Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. I always enjoy talking to you, Chris, because you have a unique insight to a few things. One, the real estate market. And I always have thought that real estate is kind of a bellwether industry that gives us a good picture into what the economy is kind of like and what the feeling is out there, real estate and construction and that kind of thing. But you're also kind of well versed in the labor market, what the economic situation looks like. And so I think that insight is really valuable. So there are a lot of things that I want to get into today, including a topic that is on top of a lot of people's minds in South Carolina, and that's affordable housing. Sure. And we're going to do all that. But before we get into it, I want to talk about Clear Mountain Properties just for a minute. So I'm going to give you that opportunity just to give our viewers an elevator speech and tell us who you are and what you do.
Appreciate that, Rick. So we're a real estate investment and development firm based in Greenville, South Carolina. We focus on the upstate region in all of our projects. We are a firm that focuses really on downtown urban infill locations, and whether that's buying existing or building new, a big part of our focus is coming in, working with the cities where we have projects and sitting down with them on the front end and understanding what they're looking to accomplish and how can we be additive to their vision of growth and what is that going to look like and how can we enhance the local community. So we'll do any asset class so long as we think that there's a good value that we're driving for our investors and we think that the project is additive to the fabric of the community.
Yeah, well, before we get into some of the topics I want to discuss with you, I do want to stick with your project for a second. You all, last time you were on here, we talked about a project that you all are doing down in TR, and I believe we're just about ready to get started on that. It's called LEVA. Again, it's in TR. Tell us quickly about that project and what LEVA means.
Sure. So, LEVA is, live active, right? And that is, again, cutting to the heart of the fabric of Travelers Rest. It's an outdoor driven community. You've got the Swamp Rabbit Trail. You go up there on a weekend, the trail is buzzing with bikers and people walking. People want to enjoy that outdoor lifestyle that Travelers Rest offers. And so the name itself, again, live active, and the design of the community. Just to reiterate the point I made earlier, we spent a lot of time, over a year sitting down with the city and designing site plans, redesigning site plans, talking about what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, how it's going to interact with the surrounding neighborhood to make sure that it fits with the fabric of the neighborhood, to make sure that it enhances what the city's looking to accomplish, which is the expansion of their own downtown. They want to pull that downtown footprint eastward. We sit at this really critical juncture where we're going to be able to deliver a mass of new residents that will help unlock retail redevelopment opportunities and just generate more activity for local businesses, while again fitting into the fabric. And that goes down to the amenity features that are going to be on site, the color selection, the material selection. It's a very thoughtful approach to how do we bring a product that Travelers Rest, the city, and the residents can be proud of. They can be additive to what the city is looking to accomplish, and how can we feel really good about the end product?
Chris, let's get into a few topics here. And the first thing I want to talk about is how fast we're growing. South Carolina is the fastest growing state in the country, folks, at least over the last few years. Sometimes we're number one, sometimes we're number two or three. We're right there with Texas and Florida, about 1.7% or so growth a year. What does that mean? If you look at it and you multiply that out, we're going to add 1 million residents in South Carolina in the next 15 years. Now think about that, folks. What's going to happen not only from an infrastructure perspective to support that type of growth, but also from a housing perspective, right? And so I would just like to get your thoughts and your insight, Chris, on how are we going to accommodate 1 million people? What types of living areas are we going to need? What sort of projects is going to be able to help us?
To your question more specifically to housing, look, it's still a complicated issue, right? People there's always a big reaction when you get a big influx of growth and a big influx of new residents, and I think we're seeing kind of that reaction in certain counties in the upstate, where there's been moratoriums, there's restrictions placed on development, or there's minimum lot sizes. And I think what's happening is there's been this reaction to this sudden wave of growth that's happened really in the last, I mean, it's been growing for 20 years, but in the last 5+ years since COVID, it's been kind of explosive. And, people are wrapping their minds around how do we handle this growth? And so from a developer's perspective, my perspective, if you want to boil it down to one statement, it's look, we need more housing. We need to build more. Housing prices, Greenville used to be an extremely affordable place to live. If you look at it on a national average, that affordability factor has gone way down. And a lot of that is it's really just supply and demand. If there's demand, we need more supply. And I understand the reaction to the sudden wave of growth. But as a developer, really the way we can operate and what I think would be best is if there can be a thoughtful approach in the counties and the cities of, okay, the growth is coming, the people are coming. How can we develop a framework that accomplishes what we're looking to accomplish, which is to grow in the right way? So there should be areas of high density residential. There should be areas that are more focused on industrial. There should be specific retail corridors. Let's not just have a free for all where you can come in and build whatever you want, because if you fight the growth, if you don't put structure around it, ultimately the end result ends up looking a lot worse than what it could have been if there had been a thoughtful framework around it from the outset.
Yeah, I hear you. And let's talk about affordable housing for a second. Man, do we need affordable housing? And how do you define affordable housing? And I'll tell you how I define it. And we're not getting it. I would define it as houses that are under $300,000.
Sure.
Right? Uh, but I live out in Simpsonville, and I'm surrounded by new projects going up, new subdivisions going up. None of them are under $300,000, right? We're talking fours and fives. But man, do we need that type of housing? Are we going to get it?
You're asking tough questions today.
Yeah, yeah.
So, look, I'm a real estate developer, so I know what the numbers are. It's really hard to build houses and sell them for under $300,000 unless you're doing it in, a location that not a lot of people want to live, and you're doing it and you're delivering very, for lack of a better term, cheap product. And I don't think anybody thinks that that's a solution to the affordable housing problem, because
No.
all the commerce is, it's concentrated in the cities, and that's where the people who work in these businesses, they want to live close to work. They need childcare close to work. And so if you want my prediction, my long-term prediction, I think that there's going to have to be a big disruption in the construction industry. I don't think that pricing in the construction industry can continue to escalate the same way it has, especially coming out of COVID, where, I mean, basically overnight construction costs went up 30-40%. And that's placing a real strain on developers. I mean, our business is to deliver housing product. So if our construction costs go like this and the land prices have gone like this, our only solution is we need to build more units so that we can sell them, and that creates, density issues that folks don't like to see, or we have to sell at a higher price, because if we don't make money, we're not going to deliver the product. So I think my prediction is over the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot more building technology that comes out, whether it's 3D printing, just more efficient building deliveries, modular. I think there's a lot of early innings type of technology that's out there that will allow us to build faster and less expensive.
Right. All right, let's move on a little bit here. Keeping in the same realm of things, talking about cost, is I want to talk about financing. Are you seeing changes in the way people finance projects? Right. And I'm not just talking about a person financing a personal home. I'm talking about financing a project, which is what you're in. Alternative financing because of of pricing and how much things have gone up?
Sure. So it's been a challenge in the capital markets the last couple of years. What we've seen in the last 12 months is debt is pretty available. Banks are getting active. There's lots of private credit funds that have popped up to fill a need that existed. And so the debt is available for projects. There's a lot of different options out there. What's really been the challenge from our perspective when we're building out a capital stack for a project is the common equity. I think that there's a lot of folks who have real estate investments from the last 5 years, and maybe they expected to exit those projects in the last couple of years, but when rates went up and refinancing got a lot more expensive, or you don't want to sell because it's not an attractive time to sell, I think there's a lot of capital, that common equity capital that's still trapped in real estate deals. And there's a hesitancy from folks to deploy more capital into real estate until they start to see a return or a recycling of their capital from some of their prior investments. So that's the challenging piece of the capital stack right now.
Chris, let's switch gears. I kind of want to talk about how you guys and how companies like yours work with communities to make sure that everyone's on the same page with the type of project
Sure.
that you're building,
Sure.
right? And so give me an idea of what it looks like. You decided that you wanted to go into TR. You don't have to use that as an example. Feel free to use something else. Doesn't matter to me. But when you decide to go into a community like TR to build a project, because that's a hot place, right?
Hmm.
It's a hot place, and you can probably find investment, people who are willing to invest in a place like that. What does the conversation look like between you and that community as you begin?
Sure. So I'll actually use a different project as an example. So we purchased a former mill site, Watts Mill, down in Lawrence, South Carolina, over 2 years ago now. And our intention when we bought it was to redevelop the site. Obviously, it's an old, abandoned, dilapidated mill, and we wanted to, or we haven't built the project, so we would like to deliver housing on that site. And so that was our thought when we bought it. But we didn't just push forward with a site plan and go in front of the city for approvals. We sat down with the city of Lawrence and the county of Lawrence, and we just asked them, what do you all want to see on this site? And what was the consistent answer from a variety of officials was the missing gap in Lawrence City and Lawrence County is, what we'll call kind of workforce housing. Folks who are working locally, whether it's in one of the factories along 385 or as a police officer, a nurse, teacher. There's not a lot of options for those types of folks to have housing in Lawrence. I think there's a lot of demand to live in Lawrence, but there's not a lot of housing options. And so we came to them and we said, okay, look, I think we can help solve that problem. Here's what we're thinking about the site. Here's how we'd like to design it. And we were very, very upfront with them about some of the numbers and some of the challenges of the site. Because it's a former mill site, there's a lot of site work that goes into it. It's a very expensive site to develop. And these are conversations that take months and over a year. So the plan right now is to build 178 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it'll be a mix of 2-bed, 2-bath, and 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhomes. 2-car garages, fully amenitized with a clubhouse, pool on site, walking trail on site, and this will be quality product. Not to denigrate anything, but this is not going to look like some cheap tract housing product. This is going to look like nice quality products that people are proud to live in.
Chris, what types of amenities are people looking for these days? Not only in new homes, but if they're wanting to move into that place you're talking about in Lawrence, apartment type situation, what's important to people these days?
I think from a basic level, I think it's kind of the basics are still the most important thing. They want it to be safe. People need to feel safe first and foremost. So we place a big emphasis on making sure that our residents always feel like they're in a safe place. They want it to be clean. They want it to be well maintained. When they submit a work order, they don't want to wait 2 weeks for you to respond and then it takes 3 months to get it fixed. Nobody wants to live that. So I think it's really just about being being responsive to resident needs and understanding that it's a two-way partnership. We don't view residents as just cogs in the wheel that are easily replaceable. We really view them as clients in our business that are vitally important to the success of our business. So I think people want to have those basic needs met. And then beyond that, I think people love to have a pool. They love to have a dog park. They love to have their clubhouse. They love to have their walking trails. I mean, if you can have access to a walking trail, I think that's a huge amenity in the upstate. Maybe kind of particular to the upstate more so than some of the other geographies across the country. So I would say that is because this is such an outdoor driven area, the upstate generally. I think those types of amenities really ring, or really hit home with people.
Chris, I'm going to get you out of here on this. I don't have a episode that comes and goes these days without talking about artificial intelligence or at least some type of technology.
Sure.
Because it is creeping its way. Actually, it's busting down the door its way into every industry and everything in terms of how we live and how we work. How is technology influencing your world? Real estate development, property management?
Sure.
How's it influencing?
So, from a property management perspective, I think that it's still a little early days for AI, but we have been over the last 12 months evaluating very heavily how we can incorporate more of it into our day-to-day workflows. The thing that comes to mind first and foremost is integrating it into our leasing processes. So, a computer doesn't sleep, a computer doesn't take vacation, and it would be wonderful to have a system where if a renter is looking on our website or submitting an inquiry on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock because they're sitting on their couch just scrolling through rental listings, let's have the ability to have someone reach out, an AI person reach out to that prospect right away and engage that prospect. It's the more you can engage with residents, the better. So I think we're looking for tools that we can implement on the leasing, the resident relations side of things, so that residents can have constant touch points whenever they need them, because things happen at night, on the weekends, and we want to be able to make sure residents always have a touch point.
Chris, good stuff.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always glad to talk to you, folks. That's a smart guy right there. That's Chris Rizzo. He is the founder and principal at Clear Mountain Properties. And a firm like Clear Mountain Properties is more and more important to us, folks, as we head down this road of the growth that we're experiencing. As I mentioned before, 1 million more people flooding into the upstate area within the next 15 years or so. Housing, more important than ever. Answers, more important than ever. Chris, again, thank you, folks. That concludes another episode of Let's Talk Business. We will see you the next time.